Kelly Gonzalez, here with my friend Kristen Nies-Seraldo to talk about being smart and intentional about business growth, turning your goals into action. So, Kristen, tell us a little about yourself.
Thanks, Kelly. My name's Kristen Nies-Seraldo. I'm a founder of the Friday Guide. I've been in business for over 10 years, and I work specifically with independent, creative, small business owners, especially those in the restaurant and bar industry. Um, I do bookkeeping, all the financial things, fractional CFO work, but I also am continually working on my own business as a person that has a small business, establishing goals for change and growth for myself, and also talking with my peers about what they're doing for their own bookkeeping and accounting firms. So this is a topic that's really near and dear to my heart.
Okay. And as mentioned earlier, I am Kelly Gonzalez. I'm the founder of Totally Booked. We are a bookkeeping firm that is located in New York City. I'm also a top 10 QuickBooks Pro advisor, but just like you, I am a business owner. Totally Booked has been around for 7 years, and I've helped a lot of small businesses get clarity around their financial goals, including my own. So applying SMART goals is something that I've done for my business, and I'm excited to tell you guys about how you can do it for your business. So let's get into it. We're going to show you how you can use your unique knowledge about your business and what you do to create SMART goals for your future. So we'll discuss how to set your business up for growth with information and tools you may not realize that you already have. And we're going to use some real world examples from our own lives and businesses to show you how you can apply them to yours.
So first things first, you're the expert. Even though you might be here thinking, no, I'm not the expert, that's why I'm here. You are the expert when it comes to your business. You're the boss. You don't need to be an expert on everything your business might need, but you are absolutely the expert on your business in general. It's up to you to decide what the overarching trajectory for your business is, what success looks like. How much you do or don't know about your finances and your growth is going to change the way your business succeeds or fails in the world. So it really is up to you. You are the boss.
Yes, you don't have to be an expert on everything, that your business might need, but when it comes down to making decisions and being intentional in the way that you're moving your business, that's up to you, right? That's why you started the business. It's why you're in charge, so to speak, of the business. And so no matter what kind of business you're in, what your dreams or your plans might be, how much you do and don't know about finance and growth, doesn't matter. You're still the boss. You're still the one that's going to make that final call, final decision. Unfortunately, sometimes the hard decisions that you may not want to make, those all fall under being the boss. But it's not to say that you don't have a support system. So you may already be working with people in your business, whether that's your team or an outside team, somebody like an accountant or bookkeeper, who can help you at least get the information that you need to make those hard decisions, to make them with intention, to set out to create those goals. Those are all things that all kind of on you as the boss, right? So it's up to you to decide how to move, when to move, and why you want to move. And that's what we're going to cover with setting these goals. Cover what matters. So what do you want to pursue as that business owner, right? So having a business is a big adventure. It's kind of like you're getting in the car, you're not really fully sure where you're going sometimes. You're not really sure how you're going to get there necessarily. Sometimes it's figuring out finances. Sometimes it's figuring out coverage. Sometimes it's figuring out expenses. Even if you don't know how to get bigger, or if you don't even want to be bigger, right? You might not want to be that billion-dollar company, but maybe growth means something else to you. It doesn't have to be that you're going to go public, or that you're going to be this huge financial success, so to speak. It might just be growing a team, something along those lines. Kristen, I know you've seen plenty of examples with this in restaurants, right?
Yeah, it's so important to know what your kind of long-term play is. A lot of restaurant owners, their quote unquote big goal is to be able to retire and pass their restaurant on to family. It's not, some people though, it's, hey, I want to build a franchise. So, and some people might just, their short-term goal might be like, hey, I want to work only 40 hours a week rather than 80 hours a week. So the point is that you may think, gosh, I don't really have growth goals. I'm going to push back on that a little bit and say you actually do. It just, everyone has growth goals. What you need to answer is not whether or not you have a growth goal, but what growth means to you. In other words, what does progress mean to you? What would be a win for you? What does the view from the top of that mountain you're trying to climb look like ideally? Is it more family time? Is it being able to go public? Is it a lot of franchises? Is it a great community? What is that picture of the success, that big picture of success look like? And then start exploring ways to achieve it.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, what does it mean to your business, right? So being specific in your business, what does it mean to you? Is it something that is going to help you set your business up so that it works for your personal life? Is it something that's going to help you grow this business so that you can hire on people and, you know, provide employment? Whatever it might be, there are different ways to measure it, right? So we look at something called KPIs, which are key performance indicators. Sometimes it's your COGS, as people like to say, or your cost of goods sold, cost of labor, sales per square foot. It could be a lot of different ways to look at it, but when you're setting a goal, you're going to want to know how to measure it and how to keep track of it. And these are the things that are going to get you there.
That's right. For instance, for restaurants, it's prime cost. That's a big indication of the health of your restaurant. And sometimes, again, these KPIs, they're not just about growth. Sometimes they're also about like, how stable is your position now? How healthy is your business? How able is it to weather storms? And certainly with the last 18 months, we could all use a little bit more stability and knowledge of how strong our businesses are. The thing I like about KPIs is they kind of establish a common language across businesses. So businesses can talk to each other that are in the same industry, kind of, and have a way of comparing themselves, a way of sharing ideas. That's why if you don't know your key performance indicators for your industry, Google is a great tool, and it's okay that if you don't know them. Google's a great tool. Also, your accountant, a great resource. And other people in your industry, don't be afraid to ask what they're looking at, what seems to be a success indicator for them. Kelly, I know that for you in the last 18 months, what success looks like and how you measure it has changed a lot.
Absolutely. So obviously we pivoted a lot in the last 18 months. And I'm going to say that we as a society, not just we as accountants and bookkeepers. But generally speaking, yeah, my goals changed, and how I measured those goals obviously changed, and just looking at different ways to figure out if I was being successful. So like we said, it's not always financial. It may not be, you know, the amount of money that's coming in. Sometimes it's the amount of hours that we're working. And so like you had said, getting my goal to be 40 hours or less is actually something that happened, right? I was finding that I was working long hours. I was working insane hours, mostly because we were working from home. And so there was no separation, right? So I needed to set up some structure and get myself lined up so that I wasn't working as many hours. And I did that by setting up a SMART goal. So we should probably get into what SMART goals are, right? But having goals in general is something that's really important. So we keep harping on goals, 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 right? But we want you to understand that there are different ways that you can set up your goals. There are different goals that you may want to achieve. There are just different ways for every business, for every person. And so they can help you organize your approach for a complicated situation. It can help you get everyone on the same page. It might be that you're moving with intention towards this goal. And so as you're moving there, your staff is moving with you, your family is moving with you, the people in your life, whoever it is that you're working with, moving with you. Kristen and I work together on different initiatives, and so we are moving towards the same goal. But without discussing it and kind of putting those down on paper, we could be going in all different directions. And so keeping everyone focused on the big picture is the point of setting those goals.
And the truth is that as you make decisions and as you move, whether you set a goal or not, you are forging a path. You can't avoid it. And so you might as well be intentional about that direction and have everyone going in the same direction. So goals is not an extra. You're actually setting goals every day with every decision you make. It's whether or not you're doing it on purpose. And that's what we want to help you do here.
Intention, move with intention. So creating SMART goals, we're going to tell you how to create them and what the S.M.A.R.T stands for.
This is my quote. I love this quote. I mean, it's not me, it's Anthony Bourdain, but I love this quote because I think sometimes we just put out fires, we do the day-to-day, we're just trying to keep our head above water and we're hoping it'll all work out. And there is nothing wrong with that if that's how you've been operating, in the sense that it's not your fault, you're not alone, but it's always better to have an idea of that bigger picture and have an idea of where you're going. And that's just, so let's get into it.
Yeah. So I'm going to read what each one stands for, and then we're going to unpack them a little bit further. So S is for specific, M is for measurable, A is for achievable, R is for relevant, and T is for time bound. And I found that when you're setting these up, if you literally just list them, S-M-A-R-T, for each goal that you're trying to achieve, it'll make it easier to see what you need for each category. So when we were practicing this, I couldn't help myself but be a little bit of a cheerleader. It's like, be specific, be. So I still stick with that. Be specific.
Be specific. What does that mean? What does that mean, Kelly?
All right. So being specific means, instead of just saying, hey, I want to grow my business, I want to grow my sales, it's I want to grow my sales by 10%. A good example in life is I want to run a marathon, not I want to learn to run, or, oh, I'm going to go for a run every morning. I want to run 26.2 miles. And so that is a specific goal that I want to achieve. So when it comes to your business, and we keep saying be intentional, set those goals, part of it is you have to set out to do something specific. You have to give yourself something quantifiable. That goes back to that KPI. You have to give yourself something that you want to achieve, that you're going to work towards. And especially if you're working with other people, so that you can all move in that same direction, right? So making sure that you're specific in what you're trying to achieve is very different than just saying, I want to grow. How do you want to grow? What do you want to grow to?
Yeah, that clarity, it makes all the difference. Basically, the litmus test is, if you can't imagine the moment when you go, oh, we did it, right? If it feels like something that can't be checked off, then it's not specific enough. In other words, I want to be a runner. When is the moment when you check that off? Like, is it when you run 10 miles, when you run 50? Whereas if you say, I want to run a marathon, you know the exact time when that's actually completed. So increasing sales, you have a sense of, hey, we did it. Look, it's achieved. Yay. And then you can all celebrate it. Not only is being specific keep you on track, it also gives you that boost of being able to say, like, hey, we're actually doing it. We actually did what we set out to do.
Absolutely. Can you tell us about being measurable?
Being measurable is so important, and it relates to being specific very closely. So once you know what your actual goal is, the measurement of that goal kind of solves itself in some ways. Think about how you can track your progress towards that specific goal. Again, the running example, it might be, okay, how close am I to running 26.2 miles nonstop? You might measure how many times you stop to walk. You might measure how many miles you run in a row before you stop. You might measure how many times a day you're running, or how you feel after you run, how willing you are to run again. As it relates to business, with the sales figure, I want to increase 10% over last year. Maybe you'll measure progress by saying, okay, how much more money in sales am I bringing in compared to last month? or last year. So I know this is where I am, this is where I'm going to be, this is how many steps there are in between those two things.
Yeah.
It's great, not just because it allows you to actually see when you're done, but it's also great because it allows you to celebrate your incremental progress along the way and see if things that you're doing to achieve your goal are actually working the way they are intended to work, so you can pivot if they're not. And it gives your team something to rally behind, or your partner, or your, advocates, all those things. So it's really important. And Kelly, I know you have some tips on how QuickBooks can help with this.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, remember when we said that you guys have tools that you may not be utilizing? QuickBooks is a big one for this step specifically. So being able to pull up your sales figures from, let's say, this year versus last year, this year versus, or today versus last week, last quarter, last month, whatever it might be, you can do all of that in QuickBooks, as long as obviously you're entering the information in and using it the way you should be using it. That's kind of the whole point. Yes, you have to use it to file your taxes and keep track of your overall numbers. But when it really comes down to specific information, you can set up QuickBooks so that it's customizable to you and your business, to your understanding of your numbers. You can set up your chart of accounts, which is basically the list of accounts that everything comes in and out of, whether that's sales income, whether it's expenses. Naming those things so that you understand them and you can understand those reports is majorly important. I tell my clients that all the time. It should be so that you understand what's happening. This is a tool that you're utilizing to understand what your numbers are and to understand where your money is going, where it's coming from. Maybe you have a product line that you didn't realize was selling so well, but now you put it on your chart of accounts to keep track of it, and you can see that it might make sense to grow that area. That could be your goal, but definitely set it up so that you understand it. Definitely set it up so you can track it and measure it. And that's going to give you kind of a leg up into achieving some of these goals.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that kind of leads us into goals being achievable. We have to make sure that these goals are actually possible. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't be aspirational when you're setting your goals, but it also means that when you are setting goals, keep in mind that you have a certain amount of resources, and resources isn't just like money. It's also like literal resources. Do you have equipment that you need? Do you have connections that you need? Do you have the knowledge, or do people on your team or who you've employed have the knowledge? And do you have the time to devote to this goal? You might have a really aspirational goal that is going to do great for your business, but maybe it would require you to neglect something else in order to achieve it that you don't necessarily want to neglect for that amount of time. So that might mean that you need to scale down that goal a little bit. Basically, we want you to learn and be inspired by others who have done wonderful things, but also consider your own business circumstances and what is actually going to work for your business.
Yeah. My mom always says, don't set yourself up for failure. So if it is something, I'm going to use you as an example, Kristen. Kristen is asthmatic, so she should not set out to run a marathon, because that would not actually be something that would be good for her. So it's not something that's attainable, but maybe she just wants to set out to start exercising. That's something that could be attainable. So knowing what I don't want to say your limits, that sounds almost negative, but knowing what you're capable of and what you can push yourself to, then knowing what you can actually achieve, that's where the space lives.
Absolutely.
Be relevant. So making sure that these goals are relevant to you, they're relevant to your business. I like to say they're relevant to your life. It should be something that you consider worthwhile and important, right? So you're willing to work towards it. It's something that you want to work towards. It's meaningful to you. If you're setting out to achieve a goal because the business next door is doing it, or your friend is doing it, or your competitor is doing it, that might not be motivation enough, right? So if it's not relevant to you, if it's not relevant to growing your business and or applying it to your business, don't do it. Your goals should be what you need them to be. They should be personal. They should be meaningful. They should be something that you want to work towards, that maybe your staff wants to work towards, maybe it's your family, but they should be relevant to you. They have to have meaning. Don't do it because someone else is doing it.
A good example of this is, let's say your overall goal is to retire in 5 years. And that's your large, big, non-SMART goal. That's just like your overarching goal for your business. If you start doing a whole bunch of goals about increasing sales to the exclusion of goals about making things more efficient and training people to take over, although increasing sales might be a great goal for the business next door, it might not be the most relevant or the most helpful goal for your business and those long-term larger goals you have for how you want to operate in the world. So it can be really tempting, especially once you start talking to other people in your industry, to just think, okay, the right thing to do is X, Y, or Z. That's why it's so important to always check back in. You are the boss. What is your overarching thing you want to get out of having your own business? Where are you heading in the next 5 years personally and with the business? What does success look like for you? Just make sure all your goals are feeding into that larger big picture.
Yeah. And you can be different. You don't have to do it because someone else is doing it. You can do something completely different that it's what you define as success.
That's right.
Being time bound.
Oh my goodness, deadlines matter. They just matter. They do. They matter. And I wish that they didn't. I wish that we were all just internally super motivated and that having a deadline didn't make some special magic. But I think for most people, it does. First, it's something to rally around with other people in your life that are helping with this goal, particularly those helping with this goal. So think hard about when you can expect to complete the goal, or if you're setting up a goal surrounding a certain event that's happening in the future, think hard about what you can do during that particular time period between now and that event. If you can't imagine actually completing the goal within a particular amount of time, probably revisit the SMART steps and decide, do I want to hit this goal by this particular time period, this special event in the future, or am I more interested in hitting this larger goal and giving myself more time? Maybe you split the difference. Maybe you have waypoints or along the way where, look, we're going to do this by this time, but then after we achieve that goal, we're going to keep going. Those are all fine, but being real about time will make the experience of setting goals and going after them so much more rewarding. So be exact, be aspirational, but also be somewhat realistic. I cannot start training for a marathon if the deadline is next week. It's just not going to happen.
I would say that falls under setting yourself up for failure.
Yes. Setting yourself up for a hospital run.
Yeah. But even then, running a marathon, do I want to run a marathon by the end of the year, or do I want to run a marathon in under 5 hours?
Right.
So sometimes the time bound thing could be by a certain period, but also it could be achieving something set against a time clock. I think that the other thing about time is that it puts everyone on a pace to move towards the same thing. So we're all moving in the same direction. We're all trying to achieve the same thing by the same time. We all kind of know what we have to do usually by certain days or certain periods to make that goal happen. And it applies a special amount of pressure to meet those deadlines, right? So especially in our business, deadlines are no joke, right? And so we know that we have to set things up for certain times of the year, certain times of the month, just to be able to achieve those goals. And so we're hitting those on a regular basis. And there's nothing wrong with setting up some things that you know you're going to be able to achieve, because those small wins also motivate you to get things done.
Yeah, there's something about too being able to work backward. There's a magic there, right? So say you're a business that's like, you know what, we want to increase our Christmas sales over 15%. And let's say you're like, you know what, we want to increase it over 15% from 2019, because that was the last year that was real for us. That's great. How do you do that? where's the end of that? You have to start now. You're working backwards from that deadline of, December 31st. And so that gives you a sense of like, okay, well, then we need to start advertising by this day, and we need to then have copy done by this day. And it can really serve to focus the energy of a staff, your team. And sometimes that can prevent you from drowning in the details and overthinking and not actually acting. Kelly, you are a fantastic trigger puller when it comes to acting. And it's something that you have a talent for. I am the worst. I will overthink things into the ground. So having time-bound deadlines, even if they're self-imposed, is really important for me. Sharing those with other people is even more important, because if they're just my own goals, it's so easy to be like, I can push that out a little bit. So
that accountability.
Yeah.
You have someone that you're working with things towards, right? So like Kristen and I run two separate businesses, but if we are keeping each other accountable by a certain date, we're checking in and we're knowing that we need to, hit certain things. Just having to say it out loud, whether I did or didn't make that time point, motivates me to not want to have to say, oh, I didn't do it this week, or oh, I didn't get to that thing, or whatever it might be. So just having someone that you can discuss these things with makes a huge difference. I mentioned a friend of mine when quarantine was happening and things were going on, and he told me to get a calendar. And I said, I have a calendar. I have Google Calendar. Everything goes on my calendar. He said, no, get a physical calendar. Write down the important dates. Write down the things that you want to achieve. And I'm pointing to my desk because it's in front of me. Put the important stuff on there. Put a highlighter around it. Make it bright. Make sure that you see it and you know that it's coming and that you're working towards something. Because having that physical reminder when I sit down at my desk every day has made a huge difference. So this time-bound thing, I know we spent some time on it, but it makes all the difference. I feel like it moves things forward. It gives you a pace to work on and work towards, and it just makes it so that you can actually get to that end goal.
Yeah.
Will you read us some SMART goals?
Yeah, let's go through some examples. So these are just examples of resulting SMART goals for different segments of what you might be dealing with in your business. Customers, I will acquire 3 more customers for my business by year end while keeping my current client base. Sales, we will increase our fourth quarter revenue by X% as compared with quarter 4 2020. Efficiency, we will reduce overtime hours by X% and reduce delivery times by Y% for the upcoming holiday season. Visibility, we will increase new customer reviews by X% year over year. And training, we will document procedures for 1 key workflow per week or per month for each department through 2022. The thing I like about these is the first 2 kind of have to do with, okay, we're going to make more money, we're going to grow, those traditional sense of like what growth is. But the other 3 have to do with making things more efficient, more exposure, being more visible in the world, and also really dependent on 1 or 2 employees, that more people know what to do, that you're going to end up having to put out less fires in your business. And that might speak to a goal, an overarching goal of just needing to spend less time in your business, or feeling more like things are running smoothly and you can have some, mental breaks from the chaos. So there really are ways to set up goals, no matter what your big overarching view of how you want to be as a business owner is. And I'd like to dive in because I know, Kelly, you put this on here, and I just think it's so, not to use a pun, but I think it's so smart to actually look at one from start to finish. So let's think about the goal. I would really love to have more clients. First, specifically, I will acquire 3 new customers for my consulting business. Okay, that's a specific goal. How are we making it measurable? This person, they're going to measure their progress by how many new customers they bring in while maintaining their current customer base, right? So it's not just, I'm going to get 3 new ones, but if the old ones go away, no bigs. Like, it's about actually growing the number of customers by 3. Is it attainable? How are they going to make sure they attain it? Here's what they're going to do. They're going to ask current customers for referrals. They're going to launch a social media marketing campaign, and they're going to network with local businesses. That's how they are going to attain this goal. Those are the steps that they're going to take. It's so important, those actionable steps under that attainable piece. How is this relevant? Adding customers to their business will allow them to grow their business and increase their revenue. And they will have all of this done under time bound within 2 months. The great thing about this is that once you look at this SMART goal, it kind of suggests other goals. So maybe then we go to, okay, I am going to ask X amount of customers per week for a referral. That might be another sub SMART goal that you do to achieve this one. It allows you then, once everything's so specific, it really allows you to rally financial partners, accountability partners, members of your team to help execute on these tasks. Because the more you can actually define what actionable steps you can take, even if your goal is dependent on another person signing up, a customer signing up, there are things you can do to make that process more likely. It's just a numbers game. So now that you have all that defined, you can concentrate on committing to those actions that will result in you achieving your goal.
You is the key word there, because it's all up to you.
That's right.
Here we go. So like we said earlier, it is, you're the boss, you're in charge, you're the one setting the goals, you're moving with intention. So it's kind of like a follow the leader kind of thing if you have a staff or a team that you're working with. But ultimately, it's up to you. It's up to you to set the goals. It's up to you to sometimes reiterate your business and look at different versions of what you want to achieve. It's up to you if you want to change directions. If you want to pivot and you now want to do something different inside your business, up to you. You're the boss. You're the one that's going to make those moves. And sometimes it's going to be making hard decisions, but ultimately it's supposed to all work towards forming a business that you want to be a part of, that you're proud of, that you want to be in every day. You know, it shouldn't feel painful. So if you're not working towards something that you want to achieve or that you want to actually make happen, you probably have to change your goals.
Yeah, I think so much of what's happened over the last 18 months has made people realize that, gosh, maybe I shouldn't be a business owner, or maybe I'm in the wrong business, because there's this sense of, well, I've been doing it this way, but I don't really like where this is headed. I would like to spend more time with my family. So I just have to start over and get a regular job. That might be the case, but it might not be the case. It might be that you just need to reimagine the business you're in and what your overarching goal is. Maybe everything you've done up till now has been to grow the business's bottom line or financially. Maybe a new pivot can be, how can I make this the most bang for my energy, the most bang for my buck? And I'd also like to say that I know we touched on QuickBooks being useful for under the measurement piece, but QuickBooks, having your data in QuickBooks is also really, really valuable for being able to look back at how you've progressed in the past and assessing whether things are attainable for you, what you've done, maybe pushing those limits a little bit based on what you've done in the past, seeing where your goals may have gone off track. Like you said, Kelly, before, being able to see what's performing the best, what do we invest more in so that we can capitalize more on what's doing well. All of those things can be seen in QuickBooks when you set it up right, and when you have the education piece around it to be able to take advantage of your data. It is your data. Yes, it's used for taxes, but that data is a gold mine for you. And this program is a fantastic way to mine that gold out of there and really get your business dialed in.
Absolutely. So, I mean, depending upon what version of QuickBooks you're using, I know QuickBooks Online Advanced has an adjacent program that runs within it, Fathom, right? So you're able to see KPIs, set goals, look at those things, and really start to take measure based on what has already happened. So it's a great way to utilize that existing data, those existing tools that we keep mentioning, working with a pro advisor. myself, Kristen. But working with a pro advisor is also a way to set up and understand QuickBooks, making sure that you know where things go. And then it doesn't always have to be an ongoing thing. You know, some people look at it like, oh, I can't afford to work with a pro advisor, or I can't afford to work with a bookkeeper, or whatever it might be. But just setting it up correctly and having a full understanding of it, there's a lot of educational things that you can do to better understand your numbers, to better understand the program, to better understand how to utilize it. And all of that can come from working with the right people. The App Store, so if you go to apps.com, there's a lot of plugins that you can use to QuickBooks to take that data and make it into, let's say, charts. Sometimes you can see something better in a in a pie chart than you would if it's just listed out in a profit and loss statement. Sometimes it's connecting your online store to QuickBooks directly so that you can get your sales numbers and your costs and fully understand what it is when you sell something online. Sometimes it's connecting your inventory so that you know what you have in stock and what you don't, and you can see it all in that one place. So yeah, there's a lot of different tools. There's a lot of different ways to get the information in, and then make sure that it's organized so that you can understand it and use it. QuickBooks is amazing for that.
Yeah, it really is sort of almost like a knowledge hub. And sometimes at the end of the day, even if your goals don't have to do with finances, just knowing where your resources are in terms of how much money can I spend on advertising or awareness or redoing the kitchen or investing in new product or a new logo or all those things. And quite frankly, you're in the right place right now because it is all up to you. Starting now, it's okay to not know everything about your business. It's okay to be a beginner and ask questions, but like we said, it's up to you. So being in this particular conference and saying, hey, I want to learn more about X, Y, and Z, there are a number of sessions that are happening that can help you really dial in on some of the specific tools that you're able to use with QuickBooks and have a better understanding just in general of your numbers. What is so amazing about that is that once you understand your numbers, even if you don't know everything, it really does make you feel more like, quote unquote, a real business owner, like you're on top of things, like you're driving the car. I cannot emphasize enough how much of a game changer that is. So bravo to all of you for being here and taking an interest in getting more information about that stuff.
Absolutely. There are some sessions that are going to help get some clarity around some of the things that we've mentioned. So making smarter decisions with QuickBooks Online cash flow tools. As I mentioned, different versions of QuickBooks come with some different features. And so understanding cash flow and how it works in your business is something that would be helpful for achieving some of those goals, right? Knowing when you can and can't pull the trigger on something. That's really what it comes down to with cash flow. Reporting insights for business owners. So I had mentioned you can do some custom reports. You can have QuickBooks email you a report every Monday morning if that's how you want to start your week. You want to see what the numbers were from the prior week or what happened over the weekend maybe. Those are all going to be in how to set up those custom reports and save them, using them, etc. Kristen and I are part of a community called Roundtable. And so we are actually going to be doing some roundtables throughout QuickBooks Connect. And one of them is going to be on balance sheets, cash flow, and P&Ls. So profit and loss statements, understanding your balance sheet. It's an open discussion. So if you have questions, come and join us, ask questions. You'll be able to bring up stuff that you're doing. You'll be able to hear things that other business owners are doing. The one that's not listed here is there will be a roundtable around niche in the niche industries. So it'll be specific to maybe the industry that you're in, and being able to speak to other business owners in that industry might be eye-opening for whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. And then to kind of blow off some steam, we have Connect Fest, right? So at the end of it all, you'll be able to gather with other business owners, some accounting professionals, and just kind of get an understanding of everything that you've taken in today, and just kind of talk it out and flesh it out and see, what you've actually retained. Thank you so much for joining us today. Take care.